Hello, everybody. We're going to talk about industry in South Wales. The aim of this lesson is to be able to discuss the physical factors that contributed to the original development of industry in South Wales and to understand the factors that led to the regeneration of the industry. So, let's start. Do you know how iron and steel are made? What is needed to make iron and steel? So, three things are needed. First one is iron ore, which is the material that is used. Coke is also needed, which can be taken from coal, which can be mined. And limestone is also needed. This is added to help separate the pure iron from the impurities. So all these three raw materials are needed to be able to make iron and steel. Let's go back to 1850. In 1850, there were around 35 ironworks in the area of South Wales. If we look at this map, we can see that the coal fields are surrounded with the dotted line, and the ironworks can be seen with a red dot. You can also see areas containing iron ore. Remember that these three things were needed: iron ore, which can be seen in purple on the map, coal fields to be able to mine coke, and limestone. In the 1850s, in this area, whole villages were totally dependent on the local ironworks. One of these villages is Merthyr Tydfil. In the 1700s, this place was just a small Welsh farming village. But this village, like surrounding villages, contained all of the necessary ingredients to support the iron industry. It was close to coal, iron ore, and limestone. In 1767, two ironworks were open. This is one of them. Due to these large factories, the population of this village grew from around 7,000 to 46,000 up until 1851. Villages like Merthyr Tydfil were linear villages. This is a Google Earth image of this area. You can see the town we're talking about, and you can see other towns beside it. You can notice that all of these villages have a linear shape, and they go along the valley floor. If we zoom out of this area a little bit, you can still see the town of Merthyr Tydfil over there, and even the other four towns we just saw. All these towns were at the bottom of the valleys, and all these valleys led to ports. During this time, many workers were needed. And as you can see in this image, most of the work was unskilled, very manual work. Let's move on. In the 1860s, new iron melting technology meant that it was easier to manufacture steel rather than iron. This image shows the new technology that made it easier to manufacture steel. Steel is much stronger than iron, although it's made with the same ingredients. Over time, naturally, steelworks began replacing iron factories. Around 100 years later, in the 1970s, the coal mines started to become exhausted. No coal was left, and not even iron ore. This map shows the coal mines in South Wales in 1921. You can see that there are quite a lot of mines. At the end of the 1800s, there were many coal strikes, and this caused even more mines to be closed down. By the 1970s, the only two large mines that were left are shown in yellow. Since there were less mines, this meant that the steelworks couldn't get any more coal, so they also started closing down. Only two steelworks left. The first one is Llanwern, and the second steelworks was found at Port Talbot. In 2001, Llanwern Steelworks closed due to overseas competition, global overproduction, and the fall in the price of steel. This image shows the site of the old Llanwern. Port Talbot is now one of Britain's 3 remaining integrated works. The real question is, why is Port Talbot still here? How did it manage to survive while all of the other steelworks closed down? There are quite a few reasons. The first one is that they realized that raw materials need to be imported since the local coal mines were exhausted. So obviously, if you need to import raw materials, it would be a good idea to have your factory right near the coast. On the satellite image, you can see the port and the site of the Port Talbot Steelworks. Steelworks are now in the same place where the raw materials are imported. This reduces transport costs from the port to the factory. Let's look at a topographic map of the area, showing the shape of the land. So Port Talbot, as we can see over here, is right next to the coast. It's also on flat land, so the factory has space to expand. Do you remember the older ironworks that were at Metrotonville and the other 4 villages we saw before? They were found on small valley floor locations. But Port Talbot is on a large flat area of land where it has space to grow. Another reason why Port Talbot has done so well is that the government helped financially. There were funds and incentives that helped to determine its position next to the coast during the time it was opened. It also became an integrated steelworks. This means that all stages of manufacture take place in the same place. This reduces costs for the factory. Here we can see some of the many products that this company produces in Port Talbot. As you can see, it's quite a wide range of products, going from engineering to cars, construction, and even packaging. Some of those products we saw before are used in the car industry, and these are sold abroad for profit. An interesting difference between the old ironworks and the new steelworks at Port Talbot is that now there are more high-tech machines. This means that less workers are needed to do the same jobs. Workers need to be highly skilled. If we look at some of the jobs this factory offers, we can see quite a long list of very high-tech, highly skilled jobs, such as a material scientist or an electrical and process control job. Will Port Talbot survive? It is still Britain's biggest steel plant. It still produces more than 1/3 of Britain's annual production of steel. But over the past years, there have been quite a few job losses, and competition from other countries, such as China, with lower prices, is proving difficult. After all, the steelworks of Port Talbot still employ a lot of people. If it closes, people will lose their jobs and might leave the town, making it a ghost town. Who knows? Final check. Choose which industries these statements are about. Are they about the old iron foundries? Or about the new steelworks of Port Talbot? There are 4 statements. Pause the video and allow yourself 2 minutes to work them out. When you're done, press play and check your answers. Okay, so the first one, at the bottom of valleys. Old iron foundries were in places where villages were at the bottom of valleys. The new steelworks were usually on flat land and closer to the coast. fewer highly skilled workers. This is related to the new steelworks. Old iron foundries had more low skilled workers. Products sold at local markets. The statement is about the old iron foundries because they used to sell to local markets and not export like the new steelworks. And the last one, a port needed to import raw materials and export products. Ports are a lot more important in the new steelworks. Okay, remember, geography is everywhere.